andtaxworry.com.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me. And believe it or not, they really do make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for talking and preparing me for what's ahead.
Thank you for talking.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
You're listening to Midday. I'm Britt Johnson. Maria Shilaos has the day off. The awards season for movies now in the rearview mirror. The 98th Annual Oscars awarding dozens of awards last night in a show of pomp and circumstance from some of the biggest stars in film. Midday executive producer Andy Cupp sat down with KSL movie show host Andy Farnsworth to get his thoughts.
When Amy Madigan won starting off, that told me the night was going to be a little bit different than what everybody thought. Not because she wasn't deserving, because she was. As much as I disliked Weapons as far as tone and gore and all that stuff, I couldn't deny that she was so transformative that it wasn't until the credits that I realized that was Amy Madigan.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, yeah, I guess it was. So that, to me, it was worthy of an award. I didn't think she would win, but it was certainly worthy. So that told me everything was going to go a little bit different. I wasn't surprised to see K-pop Demon Hunters win. And I was watching with my 12-year-old daughter, and she was excited for that because she'd only seen 2 or 3 of the animateds. And when the other ones came up, I was like, you wouldn't like that one. That one might not win. And I didn't think Elio should have been one of the nominees from last year. Honestly, I would have put Bad Guys 2 up over it. But there were other animateds that should have. But K-pop was a worthy winner. I was late to the party on that one because long family story. But when I did see it, I was really impressed with the style of animation, the change. You know, I don't know. When I'm done with a movie, I like to think, wow, I'm glad I watched that. Which is why I'm always a little disappointed with the 10 nominees for Best Picture. I realize that, and again, I might be in the minority opinion on this, but I think I'm in the majority opinion of the average moviegoer. Most of the 10 movies on that list, outside of F1 and maybe a couple of the others, I bet most people that are the average movie watcher hadn't seen those. The ones that they need to come to watch the Oscars, this is why they expanded it from 5 to 10 pictures a little while ago, was so they could throw in the token F1 or Top Gun Maverick, which is what people want. Barbie at least felt like it might have been a contender for Best Picture, but that's why they have 10 instead of 5. It doesn't make sense to have 10 pictures and 5 of everything else, except for we need viewers.
Right. No, that makes sense. I think with the Best Picture, since we'll start there, I was not happy with the Best Picture choice.
So what did you want?
I wanted Sinners.
Okay.
And we watched one battle after another over the weekend, and it was hard to get into. I was not really interested. I didn't know where it was going. It wasn't until they moved up in the story to Northern California, which is where I'm from, that I suddenly was interested. And then
I was Seattle.
No, it was up. It was filmed in Eureka, California.
Was it trying to be Seattle?
No.
I swear it was Seattle when I watched it.
Anyone who's ever been to Humboldt County in California, this is just literally what it is.
So you wanted to like it.
So I wanted to like it more. And it had a great cast. I thought there was great acting in it, but I thought Sinners was by and far better. I watched Sinners, I think on Halloween actually, by myself at the house and was blown away. I didn't know what to expect from it. And the acting, the story, I thought it was so creative that I was really kind of pining for it, especially after it got, 16 nominations? 16 nominations.
A record 16 nominations.
I was like, okay, this is going to go someplace, and then it didn't.
And see, I'm a subscriber to if your film got nominated for 16 Academy Awards, how are you not the best director? Because the director has a hand in every single thing. So yes, the casting, and the woman deserved the casting award. I'm not saying that she didn't. I'm just saying he has to pick the casting director. He has to agree with the choices. He wrote the screenplay, and it's an original screenplay. To me, all of those scream, Best Picture, because I think, and I'm not a film school grad, I'm a dude who watches movies and likes things and is able to process what I think about them, but somebody who can get 16 nominations, wrote the screenplay, came up with this story from scratch, one battle after another, an adapted screenplay. Someone else came up with this story. Paul Thomas Anderson adapted it in a really good way, and he won Best Adapted Screenplay.
Right.
But I always think that original screenplay should win over adapted, especially in today's day and age where everybody's trying to find an IP that people already like. to come up with something that you're already familiar with to get you to go to the movies. And he started from scratch. He made what was essentially The Color Purple mixed with a vampire movie.
Yeah.
And I watched the trailer, and for the first half of the trailer, I'm like, this looks cool. And then I saw it was a vampire, and I was like, okay, I don't want to see this. But then when I went and saw it, I kind of had the same reaction watching it of like, this is really well done. It's gorgeous. Michael B. Jordan's playing 2 roles. Deserved the Oscar.
100% deserved
If you can
to
play
win.
2 roles and you forget that it's not 2 people doing it, that it's not actual twins, that's worth it. So I'm glad that he got recognized. Wunmi Musako, who she won some of the Best Supporting Actresses leading up, but she didn't at the Oscars. But again, Amy Madigan, worthwhile. Here's a quick summary for me on the Oscars. It's like figure skating. It's like gymnastics. You got people just making their best guess, and it all goes to what they see. It's not like these 2 movies are competing head-to-head in some way that's measurable. It's opinion. It's politics. It is what it is. That's part of the fun of watching.
Well, and I think that that's an important note. Every time they do their thank yous for the winners, they usually will thank the people that they've gone up against because they realize that they've all helped make each other better. And then you talk about the votes, too. We had a tie yesterday for one of them.
That doesn't 7 times in what, almost 100 years?
Yeah, that doesn't happen. And I thought they were kidding at first. And then, oh, no, they're serious.
Well,
it
it was
actually really was a tie.
Nanjiani because he's a comedian. You
Exactly.
thought, oh, we're having some fun with this. And
Let's just finish up real quick on the In Memoriam.
everybody always gets mad about the In Memoriam because somebody always gets left out.
Everyone does, but I was in tears at the tribute from Rachel McAdams to Diane Keaton and Catherine O'Hara. I mean, I grew up with their movies, and so to me, it was beautiful. But I think the moment that stood out really to me was the tribute to Robert Redford there at the end. I mean, Barbara Streisand came out. She spoke very, very kind of weakly. Like you could tell she was kind of struggling for it, but then she started to sing. And the second she started to sing, it was like, oh, yeah, that's Barbara Streisand.
Muscle memory. It's amazing.
Oh,
isn't
100%. But just the impact, I think we think of Robert Redford as being this fantastic actor from the past, and then he went to Sundance. And we kind of, I don't think, really connect him to Hollywood past that point in his later years. But the legacy that he left behind still continues today in Hollywood. And so all of these people, even if they had never directly worked with him, either know of him from Sundance or know of his legacy. A lot of the films that have been best films over the past years got their start at Sundance. And so, there's a lot to him, and I thought that the tribute that they gave to him was very fitting and very appropriate.
Well, and for a certain age audience, I mean, Robert Redford was the biggest movie star for a while. And for a younger audience who is, and again, who they want on the telecast, they can't survive forever with only those of us as we get older sticking with it. They need new. So I thought that was a great way. Certainly kids are going to not understand how significant it was. Barbara Streisand singing a tribute to him. And maybe they're like, at first, like, who's that lady? But it was powerfully done. And it is a good reminder that we've kind of adopted Robert Redford here. And because he hasn't done a ton of Hollywood movies in the last while, so it's easy to forget because, especially with Hollywood, it's what's in front of me now. What have you done for me lately? So very fitting that he got that tribute. And, of course, it hits extra home here as we watch it in Utah. And so what a way to go out. What a great tribute.
That's KSL Movie Show host Andy Farnsworth and Midday's Andy Cup there. Did you watch the Oscars last night? Well, what did you think? Feel free to text us at 57500 and share your thoughts. We have breaking news here on KSL News Radio. President Trump has more to say, and we're going to tune in on that here.
And that's what you would have had here, and it was a terrible thing. I'm very proud of what we did, and I think JD understands better than most. If you give Iran a nuclear weapon, at least a very substantial part of the world would be blown up, and it'll be used almost immediately. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You don't mind if I keep this here, do you? Isn't that a beautiful thing? I used to look at it, and I said, it's a piece of art, but how can it be effective? It's so stealth. Think of it, Peter. 1 a.m, it flies in, and they say, sir, they're in Iranian airspace. And I say, oh, and I'm watching it from the Situation Room with a couple of other very smart people, including some good generals, real generals, not television generals. And all of a sudden you see that dive. They start diving, and sure, and you see them 30,000, 20,000. Boy, I said, that was a lot. They went down fast to aim it. And they know they're coming, and they're smart, and they never saw them. And they're firing a little bit, but they don't know what they're firing at because they can't see a thing. And then you hear the biggest explosions that anybody's ever heard. Those are the biggest bombs. Outside of nuclear, those are the biggest bombs. And you say, what technology we have. What a great country. I built it during my first term. I built it. I didn't know I'd have to use it this much in my second term. But we had an incompetent president. We had an incompetent administration. And if that group of people in any form, whether it's Kamala, him, it doesn't matter, would have had another 4 years, we would have had no country left. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You say you're doing a job for the rest of the world. In your conversation...
That's President Trump speaking live about the war in Iran. And our top local story is also breaking news. Senator John Curtis voicing concern today about ICE buying a massive warehouse on Salt Lake City's west side. In a statement released this afternoon, the senator says local engagement should have happened with this plan. He says the decision to move forward with this facility via backdoor negotiations, bypassing input from local leaders, is both short-sighted and likely counterproductive to supporting the strategic growth and long-term infrastructure plans of Salt Lake City's west side. Salt Lake City leaders have slammed the purchase, saying an ICE facility has no place in the city. Other local stories KSL is following. An employee at a rehabilitation facility in Sandy was arrested after police say he stole prescription drugs from patients. KSL News Radio's Cameron Elliott reports.
According to police documents, 45-year-old Isaac Waters was arrested after a family member reported finding a garbage bag full of medicine logs and empty blister packs in their garage. Sandy Police Sergeant Michael Olson here.
We were able to end up searching a residence and a vehicle, locating multiple items that we were able to establish enough probable cause to take the suspect in this case into custody.
When asked how he chose who to steal from, police say Waters told them he would take it from people with multiple packs so they didn't notice when it went missing. Sergeant Olson says Waters has been released pending prosecution. Cameron Elliott, KSL News Radio.
Snowpack could be boosted by as much as 30%, according to a new study, by clearing out forests. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
Researchers at the University of Washington found when small trees, scrubs, and bushes are cleared, it can create gaps in the tree's canopy, allowing snow to build up and contributing 16 to 30% of the snowpack. Brad Warsaw, assistant professor of wildland fire science at USU, says if there is a closed canopy, snow often never reaches the ground, evaporating before it falls. He says while exploring more forest thinning is an option, Utah is a very different climate from Washington, and results here would likely differ.
Much of Utah's vegetation is a fire-dependent source, and the state is the second driest in the nation. We're also keeping an eye on the closing arguments in the Corey Richins murder trial. Earlier today, prosecutors told the jury that Richins killed her husband for money, talking about life insurance policies and millions in debt. The defense argued that every claim the state has made has a reasonable explanation and that their case hasn't been proven beyond reasonable doubt. We'll continue to bring you updates on KSL News Radio. Your money at this moment, things are still in the green. The Dow up 387 points, the S&P up 67 points, and NASDAQ has gained 268 points. Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big, UCCU. Love where you bank. Here's Ricky Meese.
We had a disabled vehicle in traffic southbound I-15 about 9th South, so after downtown, but before you get to the I-80 junction. It had been blocking a right lane. They've been able to get that moved out of the way, and the delays are clearing. And we have the final cleanup of a crash in the Midvale area, southbound 9th East at 6600 South Winchester Street. It's blocking 2 left lanes of traffic. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cypress Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypresscu.com today. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And you just might be able to bust out your t-shirts and shorts this week. After today, we'll have highs in the 70s and even 80s as we move toward the weekend. The high today, 60 degrees, and it's cloudy. Right now, it's 52 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Jackson Hewitt will do your taxes for $149 or less, no matter how complicated. So if you're a delivery driver, /handyman, /wedding DJ, you pay only $149 or less. We're talking to you, waitress.
Check, please.
/pet sitter, /influencer. Just $149 or less. Want your refund to work as hard as you? Hurry. Don't wait. File with Jackson Hewitt today. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
You're listening to Midday. I'm Britt Johnson. Maria Shilaos has the day off. The ongoing partial government shutdown is turning into more sick calls from TSA officers who aren't getting paid. And that's leading to some massive security lines at airports around the country, especially as families take their spring breaks. ABC's Alex Stone reports.
Airline CEOs are imploring Congress to restore funding to the Department of Homeland Security so TSA officers can get paid. Democrats in Congress are refusing to fund the department over objections to immigration enforcement tactics. TSA officer Aaron Barker in Atlanta says living with no paycheck during another government shutdown is unfair and that TSA workers should still get paid.
The financial consequences of this shutdown, damaged credit, missed payments, and lost housing.
The Department of Homeland Security says 300 TSA officers have just flat quit in recent days. Alex Stone, ABC News.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries has urged colleagues to consider a bill that would fund all DHS agencies except for ICE. This would make sure that TSA agents get paid. But Republicans say they want the whole department funded, including ICE. Angela Grana is a TSA officer in Colorado and is also the regional vice president for the union. She tells ABC News that it's going to get tough for agents to even get second jobs that would pay the bills.
To go ahead and do the Uber Eats or any other kind of side job, we have to have extra permission for that. We can't just do it. So we have to have permission for that, and it's humiliating.
She says it's tough for agents to make the choice to not show up to work, but she understands why some are choosing to stay home.
It's definitely a decision that a person has to make with their family. You know, I've got a lot of seasoned officers that are making the choice after 8, 9, 10 years of working with the agency. Some even more than that. They've been there since 9/11.
Officials at the Salt Lake City International Airport say they're grateful for our local TSA employees and that they've continued to work without pay to support airport operations. That's crucial to keep people safe and to keep waiting times at security low. Spokesperson Nancy Vollmer says they're now expanding how they support them back.
the longer this goes on, that the harder it is for the workers. And so one thing that we've been trying to do here at the airport to help support them is do a food pantry. And so we do have an area in our office set up with everything, from cereal to diapers to potatoes and fruit. And so the workers can access that to help because they obviously don't have the money to pay for groceries, to pay for their mortgage, to pay for gas. And we actually just started this today. We have the ability for passengers who are traveling through to bring items and put them in a blue bin we have by our visitor information desk on level 2. We have had a blue bin set up at our park and wait lot, which is on the way into the airport, the touch and go store, where the public can drop off non-perishable items as well. And we're also accepting gift cards. So if anyone is interested in donating gift cards, and we have had members of the public do that, you can bring them to our airport offices during business hours. So there's a couple of things we're trying to do to help support them. We're also asking passengers to be, very aware of the situation, be very patient and kind when they're going through the security screening lanes, because it has been very busy here at SLC. We just had, I think it was a week ago Sunday, we had our busiest day ever here at the airport. So we have a lot of people who are traveling for the skiing. And of course, with the spring break travel season coming up, we have a lot of people who will be coming through the airport for that. And when you look at those numbers, you consider there's like 30,000 people plus going through security screening on those busy days. That's a big load for those TSA officers. So again, just keep in mind that they're doing the best that they can, especially when they're not getting paid, and to be patient, to be kind with them.
And the food pantry isn't something that's necessarily new, but travelers can now get in on spreading the love.
When this happened last fall, we were given the authority from the city council to purchase items, because we set up a food pantry at that point. So we go to Costco every week. And then we also have some of the tenants here. Some of our airlines have donated, as well as employees, and like I said, members of the public have donated as well. So there's certain items that we aren't able to get at Costco, like hamburger helper and tuna helper, and rice apparently in small quantities. So we're asking people, those are the things that we're needing the most right now. But anything helps.
Volmer says before the shutdown, there were about 450 TSA workers at Salt Lake City Airport. But since the shutdown, it's been hard to keep track of any employees that have left locally. She says wait times at security have continued to hover around their average of 15 minutes, but that could change if this shutdown continues. Midday continues in just 60 seconds.
If you've saved more than $300,000, there's one thing you can do now that can make your savings go twice as far in retirement, and it's tax planning. That's right. Tax planning could significantly reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k withdrawals, Social Security benefits, and other investment income. Find out how much money you could save with a free retirement tax savings analysis from the good people at Boss Retirement Solutions. To schedule your free analysis, call 801-896-9622. Tax planning for retirement could reduce your taxes not just for 1 year, but for the rest of your life. And the savings could be 6 figures. Let's find out how much money you could save. Call 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622.
For informational purposes only, actual results may vary. No statement contained herein shall constitute tax, legal, or investment advice. Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
Midterm election season is well underway, and the board is just about set. The deadline for candidates to file this year's primary races passed on Friday, so we now know who will be running for the June races. KSL political insider and co-host of Inside Sources, Holly Richardson, says she's very interested in the new Congressional District 1, which makes up a large part of Salt Lake County.
So CD1 is now the new district that is kind of the donut hole in the middle of the state.
The one that would lean Democratic.
The one that would lean Democratic. And so there were a couple of surprises for me with the Democrats. So first of all, there are 7 Democrats who did file, but there was one notable Democrat who did not file.
Yeah, Derek Kitchen decided at the last minute, and he'd been working hard.
Mhm.
He'd been sending things out. I received a number of texts from his campaign about his campaign. He seemed to have a lot of momentum. He also had very good name recognition. He was a former state senator.
Yeah, that's right.
And
well, he was part of a very famous lawsuit as well.
Right. Yes, that's true. And he bailed out last week by not filing, and I think people asked what's going on, and he said, "I've decided not to." We don't know the reason why. It's not important, but I was surprised at that one.
This new district is expected to lean pretty heavily towards Democrats, but even with that, there are several Republicans who've thrown their hat in the ring.
But as you mentioned, there are 5 Republicans who filed to run in that district as well.
Yeah, because I don't know that that's a sure thing for the Democrats. I mean, a lot of people are saying it certainly leans Democratic, and I would expect that there would be a tight race within the Democratic Party for the primary, and that the Democratic candidate that comes out of that would probably have some edge. But it's not by any means a sure thing. And so, yeah, we have 5 Republicans that joined that race.
Yep. We have 1 member of the Forward Party and 1 Libertarian in that race.
The Democrats surprised me because there were so many. And you already mentioned that 1 bailed out, so there were 8 that were looking at it. Now, Ben McAdams jumped in early.
Mhm.
We assumed that he was going to be a part of that. Kathleen Reeby, I think, was the first one to announce. We haven't heard a lot from her. I'm sure we will.
She was busy with the session.
Yeah, Nate Bluen has been very active in pursuing that position, and so the Democrats are certainly not sitting back and jumping on one particular bandwagon. They're opening it up for as many people that want to run as possible, and maybe that's a good thing for the party.
Holly says for Democrats, this will be really interesting, especially since Democrats in Utah haven't really had to have competitive primary elections.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because you don't usually get a really strong Democratic primary. Sorry, my Democratic friends. But this one, you will see that, right? So you'll see a convention process. There are some Democratic candidates who will be doing convention only. There are some that have signatures. So Ben McAdams has his signatures confirmed. I think Nate Bluen is really close. And then there's others that are working on it, and they've got until, I think, the middle of April to finish those. And then there's convention in April, and then the primary is in June. So that'll be interesting to see Democrats who have to go through a pretty strong primary.
KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera spoke to Utah political analyst Adam Gardner, who says some of the most closely watched races include challenges within the same party, including in Utah's congressional districts. District 2 took some unexpected turns, like Carrie Ann Lisenby being brought up as a challenger to Blake Moore and other things as well.
I think the biggest story of this entire cycle, as far as the congressional races go, is Burgess Owens deciding to step down. I thought he really took one for the team, and that was pretty admirable.
And Gardner says there were also some interesting moves in other districts and some trends being established.
I think just the districts themselves. I think instead of having competitive general elections, we're going to just be having competitive primaries, which is unfortunate with the map that is being used. It seems like in District 1, they're running as far to the left as possible. In District 2, Carrie Ann Lisenby is joining the race purposefully to be on Blake Moore's right. District 3, this one, in my opinion, is really interesting because Celeste Malloy is easily one of the most conservative members of Congress, and she won originally because she was very conservative. She was very popular in rural Utah, and then 2 years later, nothing had changed with her, except someone tried to outflank her on her right, and this year that person is Phil Lyman.
With the filing deadline now behind them, candidates move into the next phase of the campaign, gathering signatures and preparing for the primary election in just a few months. So, should you keep your phone or laptop plugged in overnight, or is that bad for the battery? More on that coming up. But first, it's traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at uccu.com. Here's Ricky Meese.
We've had a crash in Utah County, and it has been affecting traffic in Orem. It's eastbound 8th North at about 12th West, right near I-15. In fact, it's blocking left lanes and closing the exit ramp at I-15 from 800 North. Traffic's rough, but your parking lot doesn't have to be. GoPave Utah keeps things smooth with expert asphalt maintenance at gopavutah.com. That's gopavutah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
You bought an RV, and you got an automatic discount from Progressive by bundling it with your home or auto insurance. That's great, but a serious word of warning every RVer should heed. You don't need to talk about things like dry weight or dump stations. And you don't need one of those expensive water filter straws either, because the most extreme thing most RVers encounter is a campsite without hookups. So just enjoy yourself and Progressive's automatic discount when you bundle your RV, boat, or motorcycle with your home or auto insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Annie's first oil change wasn't as hard as she thought because she went to AutoZone, where a friendly AutoZoner helped her find the right oil and save on an oil filter. He explained the job and showed her free how-tos on AutoZone.com. When she was done, AutoZone recycled her old oil for free. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
You know how they always used to ask you in grade school, what do you want to be when you grow up? I bet I'm the only kid who ever stood proud and said, I want to be a rain gutter or siding installer. Jim Jr. here with RGS Exteriors, and man, I can still remember all those wannabe astronauts and quarterbacks looking at me like I was an idiot. Who would want to install rain gutters or siding? Somebody who was a fourth generation in business. That's who. My great-grandfather, T.R. Brown, started the company in the 50s. Then my grandfather took over from him, then my dad, Tim Sr., and now I've been at the helm since 2005. Every day I wake up and think, man, I'm living the dream. And now my own kids are starting to work in the business too. 5 generations. If you want gutters, siding, windows, or any exteriors on your home, and a company that really cares deep down to our souls, give RGS a call. 801-280-3110 or find us online, rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com. 801-280-3110, rgsutah.com.
Are your investments in the right accounts? What's best, traditional or Roth? Are you receiving all available tax deductions? Are you paying as little in tax as you can? These are all questions you can't afford to get wrong. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth, and in many cases, it's not what you make, but it's what you keep that makes the real difference. Trajan Wealth and Trajan Tax work closely together exclusively. No more guessing about whether you should do a Roth conversion, or if maxing out your 401k is really the best option. Our nationally recognized fiduciary advisors and CPA team work in tandem to make sure your tax strategy works with your investment strategy. We'll even do your tax preparation. One team, one strategy. Isn't it time for a second opinion? Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at TrajanWealth.com.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
Nathan has taught me to embrace the moment. Age-wise, I'm in my late 60s. I'm old enough to be his grandfather. Will he be embarrassed to acknowledge me as his dad? I think the most important thing we can do is let them know that they're safe, that they're valued and cared for and loved, and that they're important.
I knew I wanted to be adopted by him because of how he taught me to be the person who I am today. And it's coming from a dad that didn't expect to become a dad, and I feel very proud to be his son.
I was what he needed, and he was what I needed. Every day is full of new opportunities. That's what it's been about, realizing the simple things that it takes to make such a huge difference in these kids' lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
This is Midday. I'm Britt Johnson, in for Maria Shilaos. A new study from the University of Washington shows that forests are essential to regulating snowmelt. One way is that forest treatments used to reduce wildfire risk also help recover snow storage. And we rely heavily on snow storage and runoff here in Utah for our water supply. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis spoke to Brad Washa with the USU Extension Service to see if Utah could implement this concept.
The fire regimes of Utah are not the fire regimes of California or Washington or elsewhere in the world. There are inferences that can be made from one fire regime to the next, but we do need to look at the specifics of the locality and what's actually on the site. So in response to your question, can thinning help as far as water yield and that? And I think it is something that we need to look at as far as, it's not going to be a catch-all answer to resolving the Great Salt Lake and the lack of water that we're seeing going into the Salt Lake, but thinning in a number of ways. One, that interception that occurs with snow hitting the canopy and then not making it to the ground, but also those trees do take up a lot of water in growing and require a lot of water. So that's another part as far as the formula that's considered.
Washa says one of the main ways they do forest thinning is through prescribed burning.
Part of doing prescribed burning is replacing that natural process that once occurred, and out of that, that will thin forests. It will, and not every forest is the same, and forests aren't the same as rangelands, but we will see, especially in Ponderosa pine stands, a prime example where low-intensity surface fires came through every 5 to 25 years in many places within Utah. And within those areas, we would see, smaller diameter trees, the smaller trees in the understory would be burnt, but the larger trees would remain intact. So that would thin out the stand, but also keep the stand more of an open stand instead of a closed canopy stand. And when you get that closed canopy stand, you start seeing where the snow accumulates in the canopy, but it doesn't always reach the surface and to the ground. And with that, over the span of the winter, some of that snow actually, it'll sublimate. So it goes from a solid into a gas form and never even touches the ground. So that can have influences on watersheds.
Washa also says they have to be mindful of the forest ecosystems they are dealing with when they choose an area for thinning or prescribed burning. They try to keep it similar to what would already naturally occur in that spot. For example, if there have been natural wildfires in the past, they would try and mimic that with a prescribed burn. For years now, there's been an ongoing debate about plugging in your electronic devices overnight and whether or not it hurts the battery. ABC's Mike Dubusky has more.
It's an age-old question. Should you leave your laptop plugged in overnight, or should you unplug it when it's fully charged?
For the average laptop, I don't know that it's going to be pulling so much electricity that it's really that big of a deal.
Consumer Reports' Nick De Leon says battery technology has advanced a lot in recent years.
Where they're pretty smart now. If it's fully charged, it's not going to try to keep charging past the limit there.
That means charging overnight is generally fine, though maybe not for much longer than that.
If you're going on vacation, if you're going on a weekend trip, in those sort of circumstances, I would definitely unplug it.
Also, beware of energy vampires.
Where these are devices where you leave it plugged in, even though it's turned off, it will still pull a decent amount of electricity, even though it's fully turned off.
And even if it's a tiny power draw,
that will add up over time. And also, it's just, being environmentally conscious of that type of thing.
With Tech Trends, I'm Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Hey, that's good, because I plug all my stuff in overnight. Jeff, what about you?
Well, the first thing I think of is the phone.
Yes.
I'm not going to unplug the phone at night. You need it for the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But the laptop, I just leave it sitting there all the time plugged in, all the time.
Maybe that would be considered one of those energy vampires.
Are you saying that I have to unplug?
It might be.
I don't need the extra work.
Well, my laptop has a horrible battery and it unplugged really quickly, so I have to plug it in the whole time, every time I'm using it. But I try to unplug it if I'm not using it so that, I don't know. I don't know if it saves me 20 cents. I have no idea.
Might be time for a new laptop.
It probably is. All right, coming up, Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News on KSL News Radio.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. We're at 52. It's cloudy in Salt Lake City. KSL's top story is developing news. The Corey Richins murder trial is now in its final stage, with jurors about to begin deliberating. Closing arguments wrapped up just minutes ago in the Summit County courtroom. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is joining us live with the very latest. Eric.
Jeff, jurors have now heard closing arguments from both sides, and the messages could not be more different. Defense attorneys spent the early afternoon telling jurors this case is built on speculation, arguing prosecutors don't have hard proof that Corey Richins poisoned her husband, Eric. They reminded jurors the standard is beyond a reasonable doubt.
If you think that Corey Richins might have killed her husband, that she likely killed her husband, that she probably killed her husband, you must find her not guilty.
But prosecutors pushed back hard in rebuttal, telling jurors the evidence points to one conclusion. They walked back through what they say are the key pieces of the case: Richins' financial troubles, life insurance policies, and the fentanyl investigators say killed Eric.
You determine the manner of death. It's murder, aggravated murder.
The judge just finished giving their final instructions, and the case will officially go to the jury for deliberations. Live, Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas says this could be a long deliberation as the jury goes through each and every count in the case, and then each and every element of each count.
The jurors have all been together for like 3 or 4 weeks now. They have been sequestered to the point where they can't talk about the case. They go home at night, they can do what they want to do, but they can't talk to each other about the case. They can't form an opinion until they're done. Now, after these arguments, they're going to get in a room, and for the very first time in 3 weeks, they're going to be able to talk to each other.
Greg says quick verdicts in a case like this are rare. He expects deliberations will last for at least a couple of days. A Sandy man has been arrested for allegedly stealing drugs from patients at a rehab center. KSL News Radio's Cameron Elliott with details.
According to police documents, 45-year-old Isaac Waters was arrested after a family member reported finding a trash bag full of medicine logs and empty blister packs of prescription medicine. Waters apparently told police that he specifically took medicine from people who had large packs so they wouldn't notice the missing drugs. Police say tramadol, gabapentin, methadone, and oxycodone were all among the drugs recovered.
Waters is being charged with theft along with abuse of a vulnerable adult. KSL News Time 3:03. Our top national story: President Trump is telling other countries